Welcome to episode number 118 of the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media, and once again presented to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. It has been a while since we have checked in with one of our co-hosts, Trevor May of the New York Mets, who has got some sort of interesting contraption on his right arm. I noticed. What are we wearing?
They call it, it's called in the medical field a bone stimulator.
Oh, yes. Glasnow talked about that.
I have no idea what it does. Like a magnets, but I actually had to turn it off because all microphones pick up this like little clicking sound and nothing else. Like I can't hear it at all to the naked ear at all. So like I was recording a YouTube video the other day. I was like, what is that sound? And I was wearing it and I was like, oh, didn't even know it made any sound at all. I just thought it was sitting there. So yeah, bone stim.
So this is amazing because I don't know if you heard me, but Tyler Glasnow started wearing the bone stimulator last year before he got his surgery. So he explained it. I think he kind of dug it, but Glasnow's a little on the, he's out there a little bit.
Yeah.
How
he's
often
always
do you
down
have
to try
wear that
stuff.
thing?
That's for sure.
Yeah. How much do you have to wear that thing?
3 hours a day.
Can you feel it working?
No, there's no muscle, nothing muscular or nerve is affected by it. So
okay.
It's supposed to make your bones heal faster or be harder or some combination of those two. I don't know. Healthier, that and calcium and all the I'm taking.
Sounds like we're going down a dangerous alley right now with this thing, this description.
I mean, I'm going to keep wearing it even when I'm done rehabbing and stuff, just in case. I don't know.
You should wear it around the city. Like if you and Kate take walks into the city.
I literally wear it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. People will wonder if you should actually be out of your, where you live.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you only supposed to be on house arrest with a thing like that around your triceps?
Yeah. They make you put it on your arm because it's the most invasive place ever to put it. Yeah.
What was the closest you ever got to getting in trouble with the law?
Ooh, closest I've ever gotten. I was at a party in high school. A big one. Really big. Got way out of hand. That was actually kind of my fault. It was a freshman that was kind of my little buddy, and he's like, yeah, I'll have a party. We're like, cool. And then like 100 people were there at one point.
Cops got called.
Like half our school. So I was like, this is not gonna stay a secret. And then it didn't. And but yeah, we most of us got off with warnings, and because it wasn't that we hadn't progressed that far. But yeah, the entire basketball team was there, and we went to practice. That was a Saturday. On Monday, we got there and our coach goes, yeah, every single parent's going to know at the game tomorrow. So you should probably tell them tonight. And then I did, and I got grounded for the first time in my life. But 2 weeks. It's funny. My dad was like, okay, you're grounded for, until Friday. I was like,
what does that mean?
I just do homework and go to practice. So, and mom's like, no, 2 weekends. And I was like, no. But it's funny because that next Sunday they were like, all right, you're good. I could go to my buddy's house. So it only ended up being 1 weekend. But yeah, it's the closest I ever got. I was a good kid. So
you haven't seen the back of a cop car?
I've never seen the back of a cop car. And fortunately, I have 3 older siblings, and 2 of them have been in the drunk tank overnight. So
really? Yeah,
but that was it. That's the only thing they've ever had either. So I've been really fortunate. My immediate family has been pretty law abiding.
Did your parents let them sit there and
yeah.
And
well,
what? Oh, really? Yes. They had to wear it?
Yeah, they left her there till the morning, till 8 a.m.
Oh, I'm not so sure. I could do
and then
that
after that, the younger sister, she got picked up right away because hers was a little bit less of a. Hers was a weird circumstance where she just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like she wasn't drinking. They just everybody she was with, like half of them were, so they just took everybody. Kind of thing. So she was like, didn't do anything, but the other sister definitely was the ringleader. So
yeah, I've never been in the back of a cop car. Worst thing I had was pulled over for speeding. That's it. I got pulled over one time right in front of my house. I ran a red light. I just wanted to get home, and I stopped, and the police officer comes up, and I said, I think I was 20 years old. I said, you're not going to believe this. He's like, license and registration. I said, this is actually my house. And my mom would always peer out the window if she heard police officers. So I'm thinking to myself, please don't look out the window right now and know that your son has just got pulled over in front of the house. Let me go with a warning. I literally pulled 5 feet into my driveway. Idiot.
I got great news though. If you just moved to New York City, it's almost impossible to get a traffic ticket. So unless you're parked somewhere stupid, but they ain't got time to stop you. There's some accident that happened within 3 blocks of you in the last 5 minutes for sure.
Yeah.
So they got something else to do.
I'm curious. Did you even stay for the? We're taping this on a Monday, so the Mets had the walk off on Sunday Night Baseball. Were you even there, or were you home, or what?
I was not at the. I was not there last night because my older cat was. We're monitoring her right now, but she just had a UTI. Basic. She's old, so she gets these things, but she looked pretty bad a couple days ago. So it's one of those things. Like they're like it's. And I can't throw yet either. I think that when I start throwing and I'm like throwing pens and I'm supposed to start throwing, I have a bone scan tomorrow. So if it's good, we're going to start ramping up and getting to the throwing progression. When that starts happening, I think I'm going to start traveling with the team and being there in normal time. Like I get there I get like 2 hours earlier than I normally would right now. Mm-hmm. And then I'll get there at the normal time and then just play it as if I'm going to go in the game that night for the next month and a half.
Okay. So this is progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest, there's been no even remote feeling of anything since I got shut down. But that's kind of how it works with bones. I mean, when you don't flex them at all, they heal fast, but you're not going to feel anything until you start throwing. So that's the next milestone. But I'm confident that I've done everything. I've taken the medication and worn the bone stem, done everything I'm supposed to do. And so historically, I've never broken a bone either. And I heal really quickly, like faster than some other people do. So I'm hoping that all kind of equals green light.
What is the technical term of what you have?
Stress reaction in the humerus. I had one in my low back in 2016. PARS. It's called a PARS defect, but it's where you have those they're called facets, the little hooks on the side of your vertebrae that like lock into each other so they don't overextend when you're leaning one way or the other. And the bottom, they're the biggest. And if you get stuck in a position that's not neutral or like flexed, you get into flexion and then you stay there because your muscles are so tight, which my back was. I started throwing harder. I got moved to the pen. That's kind of what happened. And my mechanics kind of adjusted. And my facet got literally locked into place where it was just like basically holding my vertebrae next to the next one. And it just got tighter and tighter to where basically the bone just kind of pushes until you can get a reaction in the where it's connected. And then eventually you get a crack or a split. So I got to a crack three times before we figured out what it was. We thought it was muscular the whole time. So this is actually what predicated me going, hey, I know that the MRI was like, there you have a strain in your tricep bicep and there's some bone inflammation. Like, let's get a bone scan. I've seen this movie. So we did. And then there was a huge shadow on the outside. I was like, it's bone. Crazy. So I knew already. And I was like the 4th stress reaction in our organization so far. So
wow.
Which is crazy.
Well, it was stressful for me watching you that night. I had the game on. I think it was May 2nd. I went against the Braves, I want to say. And after you gave up the knock down the left field line, you were almost in tears on the mound. It looked like.
Yeah.
Is that how you felt?
Because it was a combination of I'm so frustrated, but what I yell right here, it hurt so bad. Like it hurt it wasn't like excruciating the point where like, I don't know if I can throw anymore. It was like frustrating. Like, why won't my arm just feel good? Like I look up and I see velo's a little down, but not weight. Like you basically look for like indicators. You're waiting for someone to say, hey man, you're hurt, to tell you like, hey, stop going back there. And I struggle with that a little bit. I like need someone tell me it's okay. Like it's okay to, it's something I've always struggled with. So when it came to that, it's just, you go out there and you like hope you can get through it and get ahead of it to one day you'll feel better. And you just kind of got through the crap. That's what pitching is. That's what relief pitching is. I got a lot of like, if you're hurt, you're not doing anyone a service. If you go out there, like this isn't, you don't understand. Like we're somewhere between 70 and 90% every day. So you're just like, it's hard to tell if you're 70%, which is just, you don't feel very good, but you're going to be okay. And 65% where you're hurt. That's the difference. And sometimes the results have to tell you that you're hurt. Like my stuff isn't good. Like velo and stuff might be there still, but like nothing's moving the way it's supposed to move. And it hurts every time you throw. And now you're getting like, you're taking the foot off the gas when you throw off speed pitches, which are important. And so you're not competing anymore. Then that's the point where you're now hurt, even though it hurts the same amount. Like your mindset changes, and you go from I can get through this to I'm injured, even though it feels the same. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And I felt for you because I did check out, not that social media is the end all be all, but it is the way that you can kind of gauge a little bit of the temperature of the fan base.
Yeah.
And 90% of it was vitriol. And why are you hurting the team? Like, I get it. You want to be out there, but you have to tell somebody that you're hurt. And you just explained that to us. I believe Trevor Plouffe and I discussed it on Baseball Today. And he said, listen, this is what we do as big league athletes. Like, we go out not only for ourselves, we go out for the other 25 guys that are in that clubhouse.
Exactly.
And if we don't do that, that's the easiest way to lose respect.
Yeah, that's respect is the currency we trade in a clubhouse. I remember Trevor specifically doing that, trying to play with a broken rib after he got hit. He didn't know he had a broken rib, but like he was like, oh, I'll just keep getting treatment. And like for a week later, they got him a bone. I think it was a bone scan or an X-ray. And they're like, yeah, your rib's broken. You've been trying to play for 6. And he's like, of course, no wonder I can't breathe. Like, but his first inclination was, I'm going to see what's wrong. When I got Tommy John surgery, I actually blew out my UCL 2.5 innings. I threw 2.5 innings after I blew it out because in my mind, this is my mindset. What my mindset was, I said, hey, it's either like something minor and you like pulled your tricep and like it's a short DL stint and you might still, because I was competing for a fifth spot. Or if you come out of the game right now, you will not make the team. You'll be shut down. You won't make the team. You'll be sitting here in Florida. And so you can either see and go through it and see what's wrong, or you blew out and it doesn't matter. And I blew out. But that was like, I made that decision. It wasn't even about how my arm felt. It was just about like, I was thinking about long-term, would I be able to continue being in the big leagues? And that's how we make, like, that's how everyone makes decisions. Like guys with little nagging stuff that have bad years. There's an example. I felt bad for CJ Cron in 2019. He had a thumb like ligament thing that just wasn't, he couldn't just like take 3 months off, which is what he couldn't take 3 months off. He was a 1-year deal. He's like, I got to find a way to be productive. And so I have a job next year. And he just wore it. And his hands hurt. So he's still at 26 homers because thank God it happened in 2019 when everyone hit 30. And he's got, big pop, but like he was never happy. He was just like, I'm miserable every time I swing a bat. He had this big glove on and this like padding and this like, he's got like styrofoam and he's gripping like this wide and his other hand's like this. And he's like, and hoping he doesn't get blown up inside, which is where everyone throws him. And you could just see him just like Jason Castro was calling him thumbs by the end of the year. And it made him mad because he knew that like he could be better and he just has to deal with it. That stuff, people don't know about that stuff because you're still playing. But sometimes guys are just like, something hurts all year, just enough to be annoying, but not enough to keep you out the field. That's almost worse than just like it going and it. I would prefer them being like, hey, you're hurt. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Now I can focus on getting back to 100%.
It's tough. Actually, I had a hard time watching the press conference right after the game. You've always been very accountable. You've always been a guy that stood in front of your locker. You haven't ran and hid. Here's 30 seconds from the day that you couldn't compete.
Yeah, I'm not feeling 100% healthy. Trying to work through some stuff, not really battling through it. It's hard to compete when you're just worried about whether or not something's going to hurt to throw or not. So by the end of tonight, I was just hoping that the ball was hit at somebody. That's no way to throw in a major league game. I don't deserve it, but my teammates definitely don't deserve that. You got to keep your team in the game, and got away from us there. And it's as frustrating as anything in my life right now. So
when you watch that, what hit you?
Just I'm a guy who I feel like I feel emotion a lot stronger than some other people. I get keyed up and I can't calm down, which has helped me a lot as a reliever. But at the same time, like accurately describing what's happening without like complaining is hard, or seeming like you're complaining, even though I know that most rational people do, but it's just something we think about. And I just I've had a long, everyone has, but I've had a unique experience or unique relationship with frustration in my life and how I show it. And so it's something I've had to really work on. And but I was just tired of it. I was just so tired of you know, I know that I'm better than that. I want to play, and I want to play at the highest level I can play at. And my goal every year is to stay healthy. And at that point I had known that like I'm not healthy and I'm going to have to go take some time away. So like my big goal for the year and every year was gone. I had 4.5 years with no red ink on my permanent record, and I was really proud of that because I had 2 years of all red ink the year before that. So I pride myself in staying on the field. So it started there, and then just like the way the outing went, the way every outing had gone up to that point. I've been working on my fastballs moving not very well. My slider was movements down. The only pitch that was really good was my splitter, so which is brand new. And so I was just like, I only have one pitch. Like all these things were cycling through. Like, am I? And then the thoughts that go through everyone's mind. And this is big. This is how my brain spirals. Everyone thinks about when they get in their 30s and been around for a while now, and that you start seeing every time you're mentioned on MLB Network, they say veteran in front of your name. Like that's, you start to think like, when is the fall, you know? And it's terrifying every time that you stumble because you don't know if that's when the fall is going to happen. And it takes more and more and more and more like mental fortitude to continue pushing forward when you're physically not what you were when you were 26. Mm-hmm. All of those things were in my mind at that moment.
Do you think, and I don't know if we can answer this question, do you think if there's not a lockout, you don't get hurt?
You know, that, like you said, that's a hard question to answer, but the nature of my injury and the nature of stress reactions in general are the muscles connected to those bones aren't strong enough to handle the workload it's getting at the moment. So if you don't have enough time to get ready, that could be a byproduct. That would explain why there's been a lot of them in Major League Baseball this year, because 3 weeks is, I mean, ask anyone, even at the time, it was kind of like everyone going, it might be okay. Like it's definitely not enough, but and you combine the fact with like, even if you were going into a planned 3.5 week spring training, right? At least at home, you could just be like max for 3 weeks before you go. And we didn't know. And I'm frankly, based on the information we were getting, we got kind of blindsided with the lockout ending. So like, I was kind of like starting to hunker down in the bunker, knowing that if we pass that milestone, it's going to be a bit. Like it was going to be a bit.
Right. And for by the way, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think I need to. For people that don't understand, if you had known a date you were going to start, you could have back-timed it.
Yeah,
for when you were going to start your own training, but you guys were trying to hit a moving target, correct?
Hit a moving target, and you know, like I just said, the like here's an example. There's a guy, or in COVID season, I remember John Lester saying, "I am not going to throw a bullpen until you tell me when I'm going to be there." It's just the way it is, because I am 37 and I can't just sit here and throw pens for the next 5 months and then be good. Like that's just not going to be helpful. I need to conserve as much anyways. So I'm going to take advantage of this, but just know that I'm going to need some time when I get back to get fully ready to go for a season. That's just the way it is. And he was like, he just said that. And I was like, true. So that's a great point. And I thought that I could handle this a little bit better because COVID wasn't that big of a deal. But then again, I'm 2 years older. So like, of course I need a little bit more time. And it was tough, especially with like, usually I'm throwing to a minor league catcher that's around us. Everyone was gone. All the minor leaguers were gone. And there was only a couple big leaguers left in the Seattle area. And a couple of them, and Matt Boyd was coming off TJ. And I think, and Paxton was up there too. And he was hurt. So it's like, you guys can't do the throwing program I'm doing anyway. Like I don't have a lot of options. So I have to do the best I can with the local high school team and throwing but going and throwing 90, just blowing those dudes away. And then I go down to spring training, like, hey, in 3 weeks, you need to be throwing 97 in big league games. Also, there's huge expectations for this team this year. Like I went and I threw hard immediately, but my bone wasn't ready for that. And I could, now that I know, I think some of it was unavoidable. some of it could have been handled a little bit better on my end, and some of it could have been handled a little bit better on the Major League Baseball's end. But at the end of the day, like, go make the product is just the tagline. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think that a full spring training probably, I would have had a better chance to avoid something like this. 100%.
I am guessing. I don't know if you guys are on similar rehab patterns or not. And nobody wants to be hurt, but Max Scherzer not playing baseball must be driving him nuts and his teammates nuts. Because I've always heard from guys like he goes crazy on days he doesn't pitch.
I think he's very similar to me. Like when I had Tommy John and I knew I wasn't going to pitch at all that year, but I was with the team all year. It was actually excruciating to be in the dugout all the time and watch and just be helpless. Like I was like, if I'm going to be here, I need the emotional attachment to being part of the game. And it's just not there the same way as if you're actually going to have to play that night. And I know that he's similar. I know that he took a few days off and saw his family when they were on the road and stuff. So, and I know that a part of that comes to like, ooh, it's an unplanned break, and he takes advantage of those things too. But I know that if he were in a dugout, like it would drive him insane knowing that he had a month or two ahead of him. Now, I think when we get closer, we're going to see Max the same way as me. Like he's like ramping again. He's like, all right, I'm going to be out there and I need to be me immediately. The first pitch I throw. But sometimes you got to like take a step back because it makes you mad. It just makes you mad that you're like, oh, why am I hurt? This is so annoying. And he said something to me, he goes, how's your arm feel? I'm like, feels great. Like I can't feel anything. It's one of those things where the only thing that hurts is throwing, right? Well, I'm like, yeah. He goes, those are the worst injuries ever, where you can just go do whatever you want and you just can't do the one thing that you're supposed to do. So frustrating. So
hey, everybody, once you're done with the Rose rotation, I want you guys to go check out the Backyard Golf Challenge. It is presented by Mizzen and Main on the JM Baseball YouTube channel. It's my guys Moylan and Blevins. They are competing against MLB pros at the Arizona Mansion during spring training. It was a blast. You're also going to see them looking awfully fresh in their Mizzen and Main golf polos, which are the perfect shirt for all upcoming summer activities. Mizzen and Main, they combine the soft comfort and flexibility of your favorite athletic wear with the fit and style of a custom dress shirt. They're lightweight, they're breathable, they're moisture wicking. Mizzen and Main's clothing will have you looking great. Plus, the dress shirts are machine washable, so you can skip those trips to the dry cleaner and save a ton of dough. Think of all the time you're going to save as well, because I've been doing a ton of laundry with my wife. It's kind of a couples retreat in there. Then we look at each other after about 2 minutes. We're like, this is a blast. I would love to be able to hang one of my Mizzen and Main shirts. And she goes, where'd you get that? I'll be like, my boys at Mizzen and Main. She'll be like, you look hot in that thing. I'll be like, yeah, it's summertime, girl. So go check out the Backyard Golf videos and head to mizzenandmain.com. Use the code word JOHNBOY. You'll get 15% off. Also, thank you to Mizzen and Main for sponsoring this awesome series. It was a total blast. Go check it out. It has been obviously a very difficult journey for you, not only because of the injury, but for those that have that follow you on social media. I know that you lost your cat, Donnie.
Yeah.
How are you and Kate doing? Because that is no joke when we're talking about a furry member of the family.
We're doing better now. It was 2 weeks actually ago, so it's actually wasn't that long ago. And just for context, we have two cats, and one is 15, and she's going to turn 16 this year. And we got Donnie because she was getting pretty sedentary, and also, losing pets is very hard, and we were going to lose this. My wife's had this cat since she was in high school, so we knew some point we're going to lose this cat, and if we don't have an animal, like, it's just going to be devastating. And so we got Donnie, and he was 2. He just turned 2. And unfortunately, he took a tumble off the balcony, trying to be a cat and jump up on a railing. Now, he shouldn't have been out there, but for some reason, the windows in this high rise open up a few inches, and it was a really hot day one day, and we had the window open. And it was just, honestly, I had that horrible thought the night before it happened. I was like, we need to close the window. And he came in, he was like hopping in and out onto the balcony, because the window goes right out on the balcony. Right out on the balcony. So, It's like he's gonna. The older cat won't try. She's terrified of everything. But he's just like all over the place. So I was like, we need to close that window. He came in. He just stopped going outside. So we didn't think about it for like 4 or 5 hours. It had gotten dark, and we forgot to close the window. And we woke up. I couldn't find him, and I knew immediately. As soon as I saw the window open, I knew where he was. And I looked off the balcony. It's 5 stories to a patio, which that sounds insanely far. But like the cat survival rate from 5-story falls is like 80%. Because they're crazy. Unfortunately, it's pavement though; it's not grass. So he's not an athlete. So I looked down and there was a little spot, and I knew but he wasn't there anymore, which is a good sign. It means he moved after. So he went and he hid under something, and kind of like fell asleep and under a barbecue. And then we panicked, found him, got him to the hospital as fast as possible, but he just didn't get he never like opened his eyes. He was awake and like breathing fine and normal. Everything else was normal, kicking his feet, licking his lips, like trying to eat, sticking his tongue out, doing everything. He just never came around mentally. And then he had a heart murmur. So they said that kind of, his heart was working too hard to try to heal him, and he had a heart attack. That's what happened. So yeah, that was really tough, but he was like my son. I don't have any kids. So he's like we called him Boy, and we loved him, but he's unfortunately, we're human and we're going to outlive our pets, and we love animals. We're going to have I'm going to outlive 10 cats probably at least. So it's just going to be it's just our first time losing a member of our family. But we are fortunate. We were going to actually adopt another cat this offseason. We're gonna get a third one, and we decided to do it here because spring is cat litter season. There's freaking cats everywhere. So we have who we wanted to be our third member of our family, but our second member of family is going to come in June. So there's a little bit of we get to pour all that love that we had for him into another little guy. So with sadness comes rebirth. And we're excited to get him. My wife named him this time Marmalade.
Marmalade?
So it's orange and white Scottish fold. So I'm just gonna call him Butch or something. I'm gonna give him just the most. Come on, Marmalade, really? I'm calling him something completely different. It might say that on his birth certificate, but it's gonna be Butch.
Okay. Well, let's welcome Butch to the May family. Thank you for sharing. I know that hasn't been easy. We get it. Hang in there. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do.
As far as your team has gone, even with all the injuries to yourself and 2 pretty good starting pitchers, 3 with McGill having the start that he had, you guys are just blistering it. And it feels like there's something special going on at Citi Field this year. No question. The comeback win against the Phillies, where you were down going, I think it was 7-1 or something like that going into the 9th. At what point when you were, first of all, that was pre-injury or post-injury?
That's post-injury. I was with them on that one, but I was watching that one live.
Yeah, and at what point were you like, holy shit, we're going to win this game?
I think I knew when they I think they strung 3 hits together. There was it was probably Canna, but someone had a really, really tough at bat and got on base, and then it was like hit. And I was like, uh-oh. And they didn't have Knievel in yet. So like at that point, you're like, okay, get some go. Let's just get Knievel into the game. So once we got him in the game, then you could see he wasn't like elite him that night. Like his velo wasn't quite what it was, and his curveball wasn't quite sharp. You could tell with the first hitter. I'm like, we got a chance, and then we just spiraled. And it's one of those things like a common momentum. We're taking advantage of momentum really well. We did it last night. We did it the game in San Francisco. That was a huge comeback. Even though we didn't end up pulling up, it's one of those horrible games where you don't want to be a relief pitcher. But it just shows the fight the team has. I think that a huge indicator, I talked about like how Canna was going to be a huge, I talked about this at the beginning of the year, right? When Canna is going to be a huge part. If he's getting on base a ton, we're going to win. Well, Exhibit A, and then Exhibit B, Escobar producing runs. We're seeing that too. Those two guys being huge. But I think the biggest indicator, there's two plays. Patrick Mazeika hitting a go ahead homer against Munoz, like 98 up and away, and he just turned on it against the Mariners. And then Plummer hitting his first homer last night in the way he did. Two guys who don't have a lot of experience and don't have a lot of opportunity to come up big in games. Both came up big. That's a culture thing. When those guys are stepping up as well, coming in and doing their job or going above and beyond their job, that shows that it like the pressure isn't too much, and they believe that we're going to win the game, and so they go up and just do their job. And so when that stuff happens, that's when you have a special team. When the guys coming in who don't expect to be heroes are the hero that night, and it's kind of just rotating around the clubhouse. That's when your team wins 100 games.
Well, I think that part of the reason that Eduardo Escobar started to turn it on is because he and Buck had the chance to hang out with Shakira that one day. I mean, that you talk about something.
What are the weirdest three people work together? I can't think of anything more random than Shakira, Buck Showalter, and Esky.
Dude, look at how happy Buck is. I mean, he made a point of it in the pregame presser where he was like, yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, but not a lot gets lost on Buck. That's for sure. He has a good time, man. My favorite thing about Buck is all day, because he's got his like, 90s look going every game, like the tweeners and the stirrups and he's got that full blown. But it's hilarious when he walks around in the clubhouse. He doesn't have a hat on until the game starts. He looks like a trainer. He's got like khakis on and his little windbreaker, and he just and I forget. I'm like, oh hey Buck, I forget you're the manager, because you look like all the guys in there. When you walk in, you look like everybody else, which is hilarious. So he's a character, man. He really is.
Did you end up watching that entire 13-12 loss in San Francisco where he came back? And
I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch the whole thing because it was like, I think it was going into the seventh. Tyler Rogers has been like a Rogers ever since he's been in the big leagues. Not that it was like, just like, sometimes you don't win.
Right.
Like, it's late. And I think I had like rehab, like it was like at 9:30 the next morning or something. It's like we had an early one for whatever reason. There's a bunch of guys coming in. So I went to bed and I woke up. I was like, what happened? What happened? And I was like, oh no. And then I went, looked at the box score and watched all the highlights. I was like, oh, I've been in the bullpen for one of those games. Really, really little funny story. Chasen Shreve had texted me earlier that day, and he's going through a little thing. He's like, dude, I think I've thrown 5 times. I've thrown like 2 2/3 innings. And I've given like 9 singles, and they're all just like dropping. He goes, and I'm just giving up like a run, and they're usually not like game breaking, but it's like annoying. And then he didn't pitch that night, and then I texted back. I was like, it was one of those where you're like, hey guys, maybe I'm not the guy that needs to go into this one. We don't want that luck involved. But I was like, maybe it would have just flipped on you where everyone else was having the unlucky and you just went punch 3 out. But I just thought about it because I had the same thing in 2019 in a game where I was like, the whole shark pit, watching guys walk over the shark pit, every single guy's falling in, and they call down, they ask for you. You're like, nah, someone else can brave that tightrope. I'm good. I'm good. No matter how good you are, even the best guys in the league, Tyler Rogers, one of the best guys in the last couple of years, had worst day probably of his career. That's not a good sign.
Dude, I think he gave up 7 runs in a third of an inning. I believe he was the first San Francisco Giants reliever to get tagged for that line.
I wonder who the last person to do it without giving up a homer was.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Because he was getting nickel and dimed. But they were good, like they were on purpose, like really good pieces of hitting, but that many really good pieces of hitting in a row as a pitcher, you're like, how? Like Lindor's triple, and like it wasn't in the gap, like, oh, I made a mistake. It was like chopped by the bag hard, and it was a zoo out, just a lot of stuff happened. It's weird because I'm a reliever. I'm like, yeah, but also like I know your brother and I know you, and I know that giving up 7 runs in the third inning, that's what we call a season killer as a reliever. Like he could give up no runs for next 30 and still have a 4.
Only the second weirdest thing that has happened to the San Francisco Giants this year, because this past weekend we had Jock Pederson versus Tommy Pham versus fantasy football. The whole slapping incident, I don't even know where to go with this one. As a guy who's been a major leaguer now for almost a decade, can you believe that you actually saw and heard this?
No, look, Jock's like, did I just get slapped? I don't think there's anything worse as a grown man is getting open hand slapped by another, because you don't know where that is in the escalation. Like, do I retaliate to this? Was that a joke? What just happened to me? I never thought I would be slapped before. Do I swing now? And then you're like, it's Tommy Pham. Do I want to swing?
Yeah.
That was probably one of the things. So there's a lot. And then we know a lot about Tommy. Tommy's got like he's into MMA. He's has some training and a lot of that stuff too. So you know that's not as like he wasn't trying to fully escalate either, just to send a little bit of a message, because he could have pole clocked, but he didn't. So you're like, what? All the signals, you just want it to be like, we're fighting or we're not. And then that one, you're like, do we laugh this off or do we get mad about it? I don't know. It's really embarrassing. So, and then everyone who, I don't know who else was out there, but they were probably like, do I get in front of it? Like, he doesn't know what to do. So weird, so weird. And then I'm going to be honest, Jock's interview after was
unbelievable. It was like, it felt like a Saturday Night Live skit.
It
between his look. First of all,
he looked like he had suspenders on. I think it was a backpack, but he looked like he was just like in waders, like he was about to go fly fishing.
Right.
Yeah, like he looks like he's about to go fly fishing or just got done. He's super sweaty and like done.
I mean, it looked like he just pulled his pickup truck off the road to go do an interview. His mustache is unreal. I had a hard time.
The GIF, though. It's really good. It's a stupid meme, but it's it's weird because it wasn't directed at only him either. It was like his team. That's as textbook trash talk as it gets. Like it's like the 101. It's silly, kind of silly.
I mean, the fact that Jock had this interview after Friday, and then Tommy Pham had his Saturday morning where he's accepting the 3-game suspension, and then Jock Pederson comes back and says, I have receipts, and he's holding up his cell phone to show the meme that he used and everything else. There's probably
Tommy just probably doesn't like him for other reasons in the past.
Sure.
Like that's just not enough. That's just, no matter how angry you get.
Well,
easily,
hold on. I know you're not a fantasy football guy, and I don't believe that you're much of a gambler either, from what I know. I could be wrong, but I don't believe you are. But you've been around it long enough to know how much shit can get out of hand.
Yeah, Plouffi's a great example. And Plouffi doesn't get mad, but Plouffi's always asking the leading questions like, why'd you make that trade? Like, because he gets mad because you did something to help another team that like, and he's always like, Trevor, don't do this with like Pelfrey would be like, hey, you want to do this for this for this? I'm like, I don't know who any of those people are, and I don't really care. I don't care at all. Why am I in this league? And then Trevor like, don't do that. Do I need to? And he was the commissioner. He's like, do I need to reverse it? I'm like, do you need to reverse it? I don't know. Who are these people?
So
Frank Gore's still in the league. I don't know.
You played for several years with the Twins?
I played for 1 year. And then I said, not only am I not playing, I never want you to mention fantasy football to me ever again. And I hate it. Now, because September comes around, everyone's like, and baseball season's over. That's all we're going to talk about. I'm like, no, it's not. Stop talking about it in the bullpen. You have to go pitch. Drives me crazy.
I tell all of my good friends, I said, watch a Sunday in September, look in the dugout, and look how few players are in the dugout during the game.
And red zone's in the clubhouse.
Yep.
All the games up on all the things. People like that and being an athlete, like people will be like, my buddies, right? We'll be watching a Seahawks game. They'll be, oh, I have him in fantasy, or a highlight come up. Why are you dropping that? I need you to leave those points. And then I'll be like on the couch, I'll be like, hey man, he's doing his best. Like, like I can't imagine because fantasy baseball is a thing, but it's not what football is.
No.
Right. Our thing now is just like, hey, bro, you lost me $400. I'm like, no, you lost you $400. What are you betting on a game I'm in for? Like, read a book. What are you doing? And so I was like, take their side. I'm like, you know what? I can't imagine what it'd be like to be like, you're really, really shit in the bed for me in fantasy this year. And you're like, wow, I couldn't care any less than I do right now. I cared a lot, like not very much 5 minutes ago. Now I really, really, really don't care.
Go talk to an NFL player about the number of times fans come up to them and talk to them about either you're killing it for my fantasy team or you're killing my fantasy team. It really is amazing. The connection that people have with it. It's unreal.
But it's weird because two-sided coin. It's really good for the sport, though.
Oh, yes, it is.
People are engaging on a level that they never were 15 years ago. So it's like it's really, really the NFL has made a lot of money off fantasy for sure.
And by the way, if Tommy Pham is slapping somebody over a injury reserve move in a fantasy football league, how much money do you think that thing was worth?
A lot. A lot. Who was in the league? Yeah, judging by the guys who were in the league, it was probably ridiculous. And not only that, they had crossover from teams, so it wasn't the team league either. This is a big boy. These guys play cards on planes.
Yeah,
these guys are the card players.
You're not a card player, are you?
I like my dad's a huge poker player, and he could train me, and I could just clean up. But like, it's just not. Plane rides is not one of my mental acuity.
Yeah, you like to unwind and watch your shows.
Unwind and watch my shows, or just open up the old laptop because the video games I'm playing now don't need internet connection. So I just like.
Did you watch the end of Ozark or no?
Oh yeah.
What'd you think?
That was a cliffhanger. That was a Sopranos feel. I hope that's not it, but they could end it there. But that.
Oh yeah, I think it's over. Particularly because Netflix doesn't like to the fact they gave him a 4th season. That's usually not a Netflix thing. It's usually free.
It's going to get a spinoff, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, they're going to break bad it like they did with Better Call Saul, which I am already watching since I finished Ozark. And Better Call Saul's great too. I really like it. I love Bob Odenkirk. He's just awesome. A lot of shows.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought season 4 got a little twisty and windy for me.
It just got too convoluted. There's too many. You can only like have a heavy come in and be kind of like the other heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many ways. They ran into the same problem in Breaking Bad too. It got really convoluted. They're like, there's no more villains. We can't make any more villains that seem like it's a level up. It's hard to do.
Plus, you have to remember when you have something on a streaming service, there's no commercials. So like when in an hour-long drama on TV is really only 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Here it's like another 25 per episode.
Unless it's a Star Wars show on Disney Plus, and those are 45 minutes.
Have you watched?
That's 59, and then it's got 14 minutes of credits at the end. You're like, how are there 14 minutes of credits?
Have you watched Obi yet?
Oh, Obi's great. I'm going to be honest. Production quality and budget, this one crushed Boba Fett. And Ewan McGregor's it's pretty apparent he's the best actor in the show. He's a great actor. I really like him a lot, and I'm glad that he's he decided to come back.
My my 16-year-old on Friday ran home and locked himself in to watch Stranger Things. He finished it.
I watched 5 episodes of that yesterday,
and just
good.
Yay, really
yeah.
Good.
It's just, I mean, again, like I said, they're in their 4th season, so like the baddie, you're like, okay, like
yeah.
A different version of but like the whole relationships and them growing up, and I love it how distinct a period of time is. So they're like, and we're in high school, and now it's 1993, and everyone's in the 90s, and we're all on the same page when it comes to fashion and music. So it's only early 90s music. It's only early 90s. There was no transition from like 89 to 93.
Mm-hmm.
They just all changed. Now their hair is different. It's just hilarious. They really play up that nostalgia, but they really do it in like 90s horror style. Like that's how those guys got it. Isn't it a couple brothers, I think, made the show?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. They got that formula down. It was still entertaining.
30 million per episode to make. That's what I read in season 4.
I just can't wait for Lord of the Rings, man.
That's your next thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else we got to get to before we let you go back to your bone stimulator?
No, I Let's go Mets, man. We're crushing.
You are crushing it.
It's a special team. I'm having a good time.
Let's spin the wheel. I don't remember what we got you on last time, but if it's a duplicate, we'll I don't know. Did we get you on visitor section? Ask you which clubhouse?
No.
Which visiting clubhouse is the best one and why?
Ooh, best visiting clubhouse. So this always gets changed based on the division I'm in, obviously. So when I was in Minnesota, it was probably you'll like this. I'll give Cleveland. Oh, Willie over in Cleveland. Shout out to Willie in the visitor clubhouse. Any other player who's been in the big leagues and had any sort of interaction with Willie knows that he's one of the best in the business. But the biggest thing is they have a towel warmer.
Oh yes,
towel warmer is because it's freezing there from until June and then after June.
Yeah, I've heard about the towel warmer,
and they're the only one with it. And they're like beach towels. So like you get in, you're like, oh, like we just played a 46 degree, drizzly game. Let's throw the old towel warmer on. So that one's great. And Willie, like, he asks you, like, he tries to have something special that a team really likes, like for food or snacks, or whatever. Like he tries to know, like he makes an effort to know like the little things that people like and tries to do little things like that. Not for everybody, but like it's really easy to tip well there. And all the assistants and stuff are good dudes. And it's just, they do a really good job. But here I would say Atlanta has it's a new, that helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really nice clubhouse, but the food, the chefs down. Shout out to the Atlanta chefs, those guys. And not only that, you walk by and they're like, hey, can I get you anything? Do you want anything specific? I can make you something special. Like they love doing that stuff. And you can just tell. So it always comes out like, is there good food and is it clean? And it's always clean and there's always good food. I just wish they had a nap room. I was sleeping on the concourse there a couple times.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I think every baseball fan should get like one road trip where they could be a major leaguer. Like they should sell that as a charity item.
That would be really interesting. I was actually just I recently I have an app called Masterclass. I don't know if you have you ever tried Masterclass? Do you know what that is? Maybe. It's like a subscription, but like all the top people in the world at what they do, like do a lecture series explaining their things, what they do. Like Martin Scorsese did one about filmmaking.
Yes, yeah.
Ron Howard did one about filmmaking. Yep. David Chang did one about chef. Well, right now Judd Apatow is on there about comedy and telling stories. And I'm interested, I'm interested in comedy. Like I've been doing a little research on Pat McAfee because I see a lot of myself in his path. And he did the stand-up comedy thing, and he's a funny guy, and he's very self-deprecating, and he was a punter, and like it just makes sense. Like we make fun of ourselves. We're not stars. It's fine. But we're good. We're just not the star. And so I'm like, could I do this? So I'm listening to this thing. So he's talking about telling stories and like how to write a screenplay, like draw off your own experience. So I was thinking, I was like, what in my own experience could I draw on that could be like a Judd Apatow type, like kind of dramedy where there's lessons being learned, but it's funny and awkward. And I was like, what if there was a Freaky Friday situation where that guy who says, if I hadn't gotten hurt, he wakes up one day and he didn't get hurt and he got drafted. And now he has to figure out how to be a professional player. Or if like a guy who was a star, like say Jake DeGrom, but he's like 39 and he's like on the end and he's kind of hanging around and he's in the minors rehabbing and meets a guy at a minor league game and goes, if I didn't get hurt. And he's that guy. He's the high school quarterback guy. He's that guy, prototypical. They meet at a bar or something. The guy's like, yeah, bro, whatever. And then they wake up in the morning, they've switched. And Jake, who has to get used to being a normal person, like it's coming, like he's about to be done. Now he's having to learn to do that. And the other guy has to learn how to be a big leaguer, professional and just on the fly. And I think that would be a hilarious premise for a movie. Sidebar on that though, the story he told as an example of telling a story is throwing the first pitch at a Mets game. And Jacob deGrom is the pitcher. And It is hilarious. So he plays the audio of the joke, and I'm listening to this, just like I'm doing my recovery at the end of my rehab. Jake is getting worked on across. I'm listening, and the guy's telling a story, but Jake DeGrom looking at him like, get off the field. Because they throw him like literally right before the game here. Because it's like, this is probably here, and probably the Yankees are probably the most special, like, first pitch. Like,
Totally.
They do that on purpose. They want you to be in front of the fans. They want that. But Judd was talking about, he's like, I get applause at my shows. He goes, this is the first time I was in something where I'm going to find out what the real world thinks of me. He goes, how much they clap, and you know how much they clap? Very little. He goes, no one knew who I was. You might as well said the mayor of New York's here. That's what it felt like. But it was hilarious. Anyway, it's a great app, great show. But like that whole thing, I was just thinking, you just made me think of it. How funny would it be if that movie existed? Maybe I'll make it. I don't know. Maybe I want to direct. Maybe I want to act. I don't know. I just want to make people laugh. I think that's, or I want to entertain people. Obviously, that's all I do.
Well, you will be entertaining them hopefully in the near future at Citi Field. But I appreciate you making a few minutes.
Yeah.
Best to Kate, and hopefully the next time we chat, Marmalade/Butch will be a part of the May family.
Yeah, I don't know about Butch now that I heard you say it, but yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
Whatever we want to call him, it's up to you.
We'll see where the wind takes.
Shout out to our man Robbie Shiraka, who puts the show together. Thanks very much to Trevor May of the New York Mets. As always, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next time here on the Chris Rose Rotation, a production of John Boy Media.